Good morning, everyone. This is Katie calling in from Premier Marketing. I wanted to thank everyone for joining us this morning and wish each and every one of you a very happy new year. We are extremely excited this morning to have something new to offer. Of course, most of you have worked with us and you know our great relationship we have with GTL. GTL has issued a new short term home health care product. This morning, what we have is we have some of the product designers. They're going to go through the outline of the product, and they're also going to mention some sales ideas and where this product may fit in your portfolio. We have this morning Nick, Liz, and Tom. And with that, I'm going to send it over to you, Liz, to just get us started.
Great. Good morning, and thank you so much for the warm introductions. As Katie had mentioned, my name is Liz, and I'm joined today by my colleagues Tom and Nick. And we are thrilled to be with you to introduce a new innovative solution which combines insurance with navigation and support resources. So new year, new opportunities. Now, you don't often associate insurance with innovation, but after today's presentation, we hope you're going to come away with just that. A different way to think about insurance and a robust offering that will enable you and your clients to realize their dream of being able to age at home as safely, as independently, and as long as possible. And so with that, I will turn it over to Tom, and he can provide to you a high-level overview of the solution.
That's great. Thanks, Katie, and thanks, Liz. And thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I'm really excited to walk through the model that we've designed with GTL. My quick background is 30 years in healthcare, with the last 14 spent as the Chief Innovation Officer for United Health Group. And there I led research and development for the insurance side of the house, United Healthcare, and the care delivery side of the house, Optum. I started working with GTL on this model about 2 years ago, and they've been a terrific partner. And I focused on this arena for two reasons. One is kind of a professional perspective, and one is a personal experience that I'll share. From a professional perspective, I left United really understanding that there's just a massive need for new product innovation in the elder care and the long-term care insurance space. There are some great products in the long-term care arena, but they're unaffordable for most families, and they're strictly underwritten, which means they address a pretty limited market of highly affluent and healthy individuals. I also see from a sort of a technical perspective that these products don't offer support models for families as elderly individuals start to need supports. So those high level sort of data points led me into this, but my personal experience in this area really reinforced the need. My parents passed away about 3 years ago, but for the last 2 years of their lives, my sisters and I were really deeply involved trying to help them stay independent at home with some pretty significant health challenges. My mother had advanced pulmonary disease. My father had vascular dementia. I was a sort of a healthcare system expert, but we had no organized guidance, and my parents did not have any form of either long-term care or short-term care health insurance. They had Medicare, but they didn't have supplemental policies. So the end result of all this was that, frankly, we made a lot of care mistakes, and we spent a great deal of money on a variety of in-home programs, some of which were effective and some that weren't. So the experience just really reinforced my focus on this area. The consumer problem that we're addressing with Home Care Secure mirrors my personal experience. People want to age at home. Institutional care is never a family's first choice, and that's more true than ever in the COVID environment. But if you look at data on this, over 2/3 of individuals will need home care support at some point. And the average cost of this care in current dollars, and CMS tracks this data, is about $50,000 per person between the age of 65 and the end of life. So most consumers retire and they believe that Medicare covers custodial care, and that's just not accurate. So it's a big blind spot on coverage, and it leads a lot of families into bankruptcy late in life, or it puts an incredible strain on the family member who winds up trying to provide these support services. And then the final point I'll make on the consumer problem is that, and it gets to support, families try to make a plan for care, typically at the crisis point. They don't do a lot of advanced planning. And so they're trying to navigate what is a really fragmented home healthcare service industry at the point when they're in crisis, which is really very difficult. So that leads us into the integrated solution that we've developed with GTL. And what I would say is at the highest level, this is a unique and simple insurance product called Home Care Secure that pays for that custodial care, that's integrated with support services on an association platform that we developed called the Aging at Home Association. So we designed, we priced, and we filed the insurance model with GTL based on really their interest in this market, their focus on new product innovation, their strong distribution network, and frankly, their known ability to deliver an outstanding consumer experience. Our combined focus when we designed this was to offer consumers really simple access, so no medical underwriting, very affordable premium levels, and the right levels of coverage. So going back to that $50,000 average that I mentioned, what we've set up is a program that offers $20,000 to $60,000 benefit amounts in $10,000 increments with an option for a 3% simple cost of living adjustment rider. And that's really there to keep up with expected wage inflation for home health or the custodial workers. We then integrated this insurance model with our association model. And I'm really proud of what we've built out here. And it includes a lot of features, but I'll just highlight kind of the three main features. The first feature is a member assessment. It's a survey that we developed with Fidelity and the Stanford University Center for Longevity. And the survey gives our members basically a chance to assess their financial circumstances, their health circumstances, and broader life circumstances. And the example I'll give here is we test for social isolation, which is a critical problem for elderly populations. And we use this survey data, and it's voluntary, but it gives people direction on resources within their community throughout the course of their retirement. The second key feature that I'll highlight is a support model. It's a navigation model that we developed with a strategic partner, Wealthy. And what Wealthy does is it provides our members with care coordination support, benefit advocacy, and most importantly, really deep planning services to help families support their aging in place goals. So we've developed this online resource for our members, and then we have a hands-on service model that offers members access to care coordinators who are all masters in social work with a focus on elder care. And what they do is they really help families organize and execute support plans. It gets back to the point I made about people trying to make plans on their own at the point of crisis. And then the third broad feature of our association is really just a series of discounts that we organize that all target the aging at home objective. So these include free telemedicine visits with MD Live, durable medical equipment discounts, home modification discounts, and we'll get into more details, but it's really just a set of meaningful discounts for members and a broad sort of content library. And the last slide I'll cover before we dive deeper into the product is just a summary of some consumer research that we've done with a large national Medicare broker who's starting to sell Home Care Secure. And they're doing that as a follow-up to their clients after the Medicare annual enrollment period. So just a couple of highlights from this survey. One, the overall interest in the solution was the highest new product concept that this organization has seen, with over 2/3 of respondents identifying as being very interested in the Home Care Secure solution. And then the second point I'll highlight is it was really the combination of the insurance benefit and the support services that were appealing. And that's what I really think is the kind of the secret sauce of this solution. And I'll close just by saying that based on my experience doing research on new product concepts at UHG, I think this shows really strong consumer purchase intent. So with that, I'll turn it back to Liz and we'll go deeper on the details.
Great, thank you. So as Tom highlighted, this is truly an integrated solution. And I'd like to take some time to go through both the Home Care Secure insurance product and the Aging at Home Association component so you can see how these elements really work together. So typically with these types of products, they can be very complex, especially when it comes from a qualifying perspective. So we wanted to take the guesswork out of it. And our eligibility is very straightforward and includes two criteria. The applicant must be between the ages of 50 and 74, and the applicant must pass a simplified underwriting process by answering no to 5 health-related inquiries. So no medical exam, no medical records, and no blood work. In addition, when we designed the product, we wanted it to be easy for you to explain to your clients. Therefore, we have 2 benefit coverage questions. One, the individual has to determine what level of coverage they want. Our options range from $20,000 to $60,000 in $10,000 increments. And then next, do they want to purchase the optional inflation rider, which, as Tom highlighted, is a 3% simple interest per year beginning in year 7, which is really an effective protection against wage inflation for custodial care services. So if you think of that, 2 eligibility criteria, 2 benefit coverage questions. That's it. We also included 2 unique features with the solution. The opportunity for an individual to increase their benefit max by one $10,000 increment every 3 years. The other feature is our grading schedule, which extends over 5 years and enables us to have the simplified underwriting process, in turn also allowing members to access their graded level benefit immediately. And then if we move over to the right, claim adjudication, right? What does it take for an individual to actually qualify and to go on claim? Now, for many of you, this is probably very familiar. The member must be unable to perform 2 of 6 ADLs, or activities of daily living, such as dressing or bathing, or have a cognitive impairment, such as Alzheimer's. In addition, they must have at least 3 home health care visits per week, and each visit must be at least 1 hour in duration. And all of this will be documented in a care plan by their provider. So when you think of the qualification, the product features, and the ability to go on claim, what does this really all mean? So I'd like to introduce you to Retiring Ray. This is a persona that we created to really help pull all of these elements together and make them real for you. Now, Ray purchased the $50,000 policy with the inflation rider when he was 65 at a monthly premium of $109.57. Now, we did select this $50,000 benefit for a particular reason. If you recall, a little bit earlier, Tom had highlighted that this represents the average unreimbursed out-of-pocket expenses that 2/3 of us will encounter during our lifetime. Unfortunately, at the age of 80, Ray has an incident and he requires in-home custodial care, and he's going to need to go on claim. Now, by this point, Ray has paid $19,700 in premium payments, yet he has an available lifetime maximum of $63,500, which represents the initial $50,000 policy he purchased, plus the inflation rider, which you remember is the 3% simple interest, which now translates into payments of $1,270 every week for up to 50 weeks for Ray. And since he's been a member for 15 years, during this time, and he's been a member of the association, we have been able to work with Ray to provide him with tools and resources and to put together an aging at home plan. So once Ray has a need to go on claim, he's ready to execute on that plan that we instituted for him. And the family isn't scrambling at the time of need and maybe making less than optimal choices. So from this example, I hope that you see the value of this offering, and I hope that it's evident to you that the potential benefits really can impact not only where Ray is receiving his care, but then also the type of care that he is receiving and accessing. Now that we've talked about the insurance component, I'd like to transition over into the Aging at Home Association and highlight some of the benefits of membership for you. So
Liz, can I cut in here for a minute?
Oh, absolutely.
We've got a couple questions coming in.
Sure.
Well, first question is there any chance that this is going to be available in Florida?
Not in the short term. We're working that with GTL right now in terms of where we file next. But I don't have a specific date on that, Katie. It's, we have that as a target market, but I can't put a specific date out there yet.
Perfect. The next question is what states is this available?
Nick, do you want to take through the list?
And if it helps too, Nick, I can pull up our map too. So
actually, that's a great
it may
idea.
be a good visual for everyone, and then people don't have to frantically write down.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, so right now we are business ready in the following 11 states: Alabama, Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. And we believe by the end of January, we will also be available in Illinois, Michigan, Nebraska, and Iowa, and Tennessee. So 11 currently, and another 5 before the end of the month. So 16.
Perfect. There's some messages coming in. Will we get a copy of this map?
Yeah, and we can follow up with both the map and then the list of states, and also just define the ones that we are business ready in, and to the points Nick just made, the ones that we expect by the end of the month. So we'll make that a follow, Katie.
Perfect. Another question is a question on the triggers. The question is, so are both requirements of not performing ADLs and the need for custodial care pertinent? How can you guys go back over that? Because they're asking if it's a two-step process. Is it an ADL question and the need for custodial care, which is questioning into medical necessity?
Well, yeah, let me take a shot at that. So it's a 3-part. So first, the member is either has a physical or a cognitive impairment. So the physical one would be demonstrated by the inability to perform 2 or more of the activities of daily living, and then the cognitive impairment would be a dementia diagnosis, for example. So that's trigger number 1. And because of either that physical or mental impairment, the individual requires custodial care of at least 3 visits of 1 hour each. And all of that is documented in a plan of care. So physical or mental impairment requiring at least 3 visits of home care lasting at least 1 hour per week, documented in a plan of care. So those are the 3 criteria.
Perfect.
It doesn't, yeah, unlike
one other question I keep getting out there is this being recorded? It is. We will be sharing this information along with some other reference sheets and marketing materials at the end of this call. So we should be good to continue.
Great. Thanks so much, Katie. So we were very purposeful in the design of both the Home Care Secure insurance product as well as the Aging at Home Association. Now, since many of us have been in this position, either as a caregiver or having to seek or search for caregiver services, we know how overwhelming the process can be. So we wanted to aggregate and bring together all the tools, resources, and navigational supports to help individuals and their caregivers with this process. So since Medicare does not cover expenses related to hearing, dental, and vision, gaps do exist within prescription drug coverage as well. We wanted to ensure that our association provided those valuable benefits and discounts. So as an example, through our vision benefit, individuals can get up to 50% off of eyeglasses and contacts. And through our prescription drug program with Fair Scripts, individuals can realize up to 85% savings on certain prescription drugs. And as Tom had highlighted, we have unlimited telehealth. And with just 2 virtual visits with MD Live, an individual can cover the cost of their annual association membership. So these are benefits which deliver real value immediately to our members. As soon as the policy is issued, members can start accessing these benefits and discounts right away. So I'm going to take a moment and transition over to Nick, and he's going to share a personal story that he has relative to his experience with Wealthy that he encountered with his family. Nick?
Yeah, thank you, Liz, and good morning, everyone. I think the best way to describe Wealthy's care coordination services is through a real life example. And so several years ago, my dad passed away, and my mom expressed a very strong desire to remain in the home that she raised her family. But over time, it was clear that she was becoming increasingly socially isolated. She was exhibiting memory loss and frankly was clinically depressed. So thankfully, I had Wealthy to turn to, and I was paired with a care coordinator. And we had a couple of conversations, essentially for me to bring her up to date on the situation and for her to understand what our objectives were. And out of those conversations, she put together a holistic care coordination plan that had 3 elements to it. The first was it addressed the immediate need by identifying programs in the community that could help my mom safely remain at home. Secondly, considering my mother's health trajectory, she vetted local assisted living facilities and nursing homes with a focus on those that have memory loss units. And then finally, she identified a financial assistance program with which my mom was eligible as a surviving spouse of a combat veteran. And I have to tell you that the outcome exceeded my wildest expectations. And I often think about what would have happened if I didn't have Wealthy to turn to as a resource in my time of need. And this much I know for sure. Number one, there would be much anxiety, sleepless nights, and family tension. 2, we would have made mistakes. And 3, because of number 2, the mistakes we made, our mother would not have experienced the same high level of quality of life that she's been able to experience. So I hope by sharing this experience, it brings to life the value that Wealthy and their care coordination services can bring to your clients. So now let's talk about the opportunity. So in its lowest common denominator, there are 2 opportunities, one for your clients and one for each of you individually. So first, turning to your clients, all of you are positioning yourselves as trusted advisors to your clients. And here's another opportunity to reinforce that perspective, the opportunity to educate your clients about the potential shortfall in their financial plan, the $50,000 that Tom and Liz referenced earlier, as well as the ability to introduce a solution to help fill that gap. In terms of how does it benefit you individually, we know that your most precious commodity is your time. And so we've designed Home Care Secure and all the processes associated with it to minimize the time in the sales cycle and to maximize sales. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we made the product easy to explain. As Liz pointed out, there's only 2 decisions that one has to make, the maximum and whether they want the inflation rider. And then secondly, because of the graded schedule, the plan is incredibly affordable. And because of our simplified underwriting process, it's high acceptance rate. So we believe 85 to 90% or more of your clients will qualify for coverage. So we've shortened the sales cycle. And at the end of that cycle, you're likely going to get more yeses. So now let's talk about resources and support. All of us, the folks at Premier, Home Care Genie, and Guarantee Trust Life, we are all super committed and laser focused on your success. And so how do we demonstrate that? And what are the tools and resources that you have at your calling? First of all, I'd like to consider today's webinar as Exhibit A into our commitment to your individual successes. And we'll share this training deck with you and the recording. But beyond that, we have a consumer brochure that we have a product video. It's 3 minutes in length. It's very entertaining and informative, and you could use this in your marketing campaigns. And then, of course, we have frequently asked questions and product and rate sheets. And then, of course, as GTL appointed agents, you have all of the resources that GT Link and eApp have that you're all very familiar with. So let's talk a little bit about the costs. So this is a little bit of an eye chart, and so let me unpack this slide for you. First of all, the figures on this slide represent the costs for all states with the exception of Colorado and Kentucky. They have a separate rate table that's slightly lower rates. But let me kind of break this table down for you. So first of all of the figures here represent both the cost of the insurance premium on a monthly basis plus the Agent at Home Association membership fee of $9.99. So if you focus to the left side of the slide, those two charts represent the monthly rates without the inflation rider. And then on the right side of the chart, those rates are reflective of the monthly benefit with the inflation rider. Rates are based on three things: gender, issue age, and then the maximum that your client selects. So if I could direct your attention to the lower left part of the slide, the circled $59.32. So that figure represents the monthly cost for a 69-year-old female that purchases a $20,000 lifetime maximum benefit. If I can ask you to focus to the top right, the $109.57 circle or squared figure, that's our friend Ray from a few slides ago. And that's a 69-year-old male who purchased a $50,000 maximum with the inflation rider. So let's talk about next steps. So for those of you that are currently appointed with GTL, congratulations, you are now ready to start selling Home Care Secure. For those of you that aren't, please email Katie indicating your interest, and she and her team will ensure that you get the proper materials to be appointed and to be ready to sell Home Care Secure. Then we have her contact information there. So at this point, Katie, I'm going to turn it back over to you to see if we have any more questions to address.
We do. First off, this is being asked on the rates. Do they increase over time? Is it based on issue age, or how is that set?
Yeah, thank you. It's based on issue age, and they're guaranteed renewable. So they will not change, unless of course there's a GTL changes rates for the entire block of business. There will be no change in the cost.
Perfect. Another question was, is this product sold on an individual basis only, or is there a group product available? If there is a group product, what is the minimum for the group?
Well, so the policy, so the Agent at Home Association actually is the policy holder. So this is technically a group policy, and then individuals are issued certificates. So if the person asking the question, has an employer client, for example, it could be offered to employees and frankly their family members and friends and family on a voluntary basis, and there would be no minimum participation requirement.
Perfect. The next question is, can you provide the definition for custodial care?
Yeah, this is Tom. I mean, the custodial care, it's the home agents, it's the home care agencies. That's generally the definition. So it's the folks that are coming in to help with activities of daily living that are not covered by Medicare. So in really specific terms, these are the folks that they're $25 to $35 an hour. Um, and that's what leads to the lion's share of the $50,000 average.
Perfect. Another question, and Jay, if I'm saying this wrong, type us back in here. It says you referenced a combat veteran. Is this correct, or can this be offered to any veteran?
Oh, no. Yeah, let me clarify. So what I was referring to has nothing to do with Home Care Secure. Um, when I was working with my Wealthy Care coordinator, one of the tasks she undertook was to reach out into the into the universe, basically, to see if she could identify programs that my mom would be eligible for that would help pay for her custodial care at home, and then if she needed to be institutionalized, institutional care. And so the program that she identified was, it's called Aid for Families, and it's available to veterans, combat veterans, and their surviving spouses. And a combat veteran is defined as somebody who had a day of service during designated time frames, like, so for example, during World War II, the Korea conflict, Vietnam, and some of the Middle Eastern wars. So it has nothing to do with Home Care Secure, completely separate.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is that's one of the nice things that Wealthy does through the association. They help families when they go into claim figure out if there are other forms of reimbursement that would be useful. But to Nick's point, it doesn't impact the payment at all. So once you're in claim with Home Care Secure, so use the Ray example, the $1,270 a week, the family's just getting that cash payment independent of other sources of insurance. So there's no offset. It's a really clean benefit.
Perfect. Another question is this information available in Spanish, and do you have marketing material done other than in English?
And this is Liz. I can speak to that. It's only in English right now, but we are looking into offering it in multiple languages from a marketing material perspective.
Perfect. Tom, I do see your questions out there regarding comp. If anybody has any comp question, please feel free to send me an email. Tom, I'm going to actually reach out to you regarding your questions. So bear with me. I will get back to you this afternoon on that. Another question is, how does this relate with GTL's current short-term home health care plan? Can someone be offered both? Can we stack them?
Well, I can speak to, I think the difference, and the difference in my view is really one of focus. The existing GTL home health care product is really primarily geared toward skilled home services. So, whether it's, speech therapy, occupational, physical, RN, type assistance. The custodial benefit in that product is pretty secondary. So, for example, like that plan has there's plans A, B, and C, and they pay up to 60 days for custodial home health care, and the daily reimbursements go from 40, 60, or $80. So the maximum custodial home care benefit, I think is 7,200 if I'm doing the math correctly. Whereas Home Care Secure is really designed, exclusive. I mean, I say exclusively for the focus is on custodial home health care as opposed to skilled. Now, the money could be used for skilled because of the indemnity nature of the benefit, as Tom pointed out. You could, once an individual qualifies for claim, they can use that money and spend it as they deem appropriate. But the focus is a little different. Home Care Secure is custodial home care, whereas the original GTL home care product is more skilled home care.
Another question is this offered on payroll deduction?
We haven't. That's another one of those initiatives that's in flight, but it's not quite ready at the moment.
Okay. Another question is regarding appointment fees. Ray, I'll actually reach out to you regarding appointment fees from GTL because that's going to be a universal thing, not just regard to this product. So I will absolutely reach out to you this afternoon. Another question is, what are the two decisions you referenced? There are two decisions needed by the customer. What are those again?
Sure. The first one is, what lifetime maximum do I want? So again, it's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000. So that's question one, decision one. Decision two is, do I want to purchase the 3% simple interest inflation rider? Yes or no. So those are the two questions that your client would have to make before the policy is written.
Okay. Another question is if someone already has short-term care through GTL and they would purchase this product, would there be a discount provided, a loyalty discount?
That is, well, one does not exist today. So it's a nice way of saying no.
Another one is no. Next one, does the custodial care provider have to be Medicare qualified, or can it be any provider?
Well,
Yeah,
it has to be. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, the short answer is no. I mean, it's an indemnity benefit, and so it always goes back to individuals have to be able to show that they have 3 visits of at least 1 hour of care per week, but individuals can use that payment for any service once they're in claim.
Yeah, I think the agency needs to be licensed in the state in which it provides service.
For that 3 visits of 1 hour, yeah.
Yes. Another one is after someone goes on claim, are the premium payments halted?
They are not. There's no premium waiver provision in the policy.
All right. Another one is if the benefits aren't exhausted all at once, this is going to be a restoration question, is what it is. But if the benefits aren't exhausted all at one time, can the individual go on claim more than once?
The answer is yes. And the requirement is that the functional or cognitive impairment that led to the need for home health care in the first place is no longer present, and that the person goes treatment-free for at least 30 days, and that is certified by a licensed healthcare professional.
Right, so the example might be that somebody has hip replacement, they need a short-term support, they can go on claim and then they go through the restoration period. And then later in life needs services for a longer period of time and the benefit is still available.
Another one is there a marital discount?
Not at this time, no.
Another one is $20,000 the minimum?
Yes.
Yeah. And just to add a little color to that, I mean, it's just from an actuarial standpoint, the right benefit is the 50,000 with a 3% COLA, just based on data on this topic. But we built in the 20, the 30, and the $40,000 levels just to make, literally just to offer some affordability. But as we did that with GTL, we also built in the ability for people to buy up every 3 years.
Another question is there a return of premium and a restoration of benefit, or a restoration of benefit offered through this product?
So the return of premium, well, the answer is no to both of them at the moment. The return of premium is an enhancement that we're looking to introduce later this year. But there is no restoration. Basically, the lifetime maximum is essentially, well, is literally just that. How much the plan will pay over the course of someone's lifetime if they meet the claim requirements.
Okay. Another question is can a family member provide services? And then I'm kind of combining a couple people's. When you say licensed agency, licensed for what? And does this provide any informal care? And what are the qualifications if it does?
Yeah, so I always go back to the sort of the requirement of 3 visits of 1 hour a week from a licensed home health agency. That's what's built in to basically certify. So this isn't an incurred expense model, which means that if someone's using a home health agency for 3 hours a week, they meet the requirements. That comes nowhere near the, using the Ray example, the 1270 that the family is receiving. So then they can use the balance of that money, which is, roughly $1,200, if you assume an hourly rate, to pay for other forms of service, including, compensating family members who are taking time off from work. It always comes back to it's a cash benefit.
Yeah, and another clarification, and I think this is a little different than some of the other policies out there. A family member who is employed by a licensed home health care agency can be the one providing the care, provided they're being compensated by the home health care agency, and what they're receiving is no different than if they were serving any other client. So it's a little broader in that regard.
I'll take a couple more questions here, and another one is going to be regarding the benefit maximum grades. Does that mean that they have claim triggered and meeting the claim requirements in year 2, or that they are only able to get 20% of the max benefit? This is going into the vesting schedule.
Yeah.
20% of the max benefit they selected.
Yeah, it's the latter. It's so the vesting, it would be 20% of the benefit they selected. And we did that, frankly, with the GTL actuaries to simplify the underwriting, right? This is just an adverse selection control. So it's a way to simplify the underwriting and keep the price point down.
And the other thing to note too is if somebody needs benefit during the first 5 years, so basically during that grade-in period, once they reach year 6 and beyond, they have the full maximum available to them, and less of course if they used any during the of the maximum during the 5 grade-in periods. So it really doesn't eliminate someone's ability to use the maximum benefit. It just in the first few years, just as Tom said, for an adverse selection perspective, just kind of throttles it down a little bit, the utilization in the first couple of 3 years. But it's our expectation, though, that people are going to buy these policies and not need the home health care for years into the future, in which case it makes the grading schedule really not a factor.
Yeah, and what we've seen, and so just again, from an actuarial perspective, people tend to not need these services until they're in their mid 70s, into their 80s. And so, I mentioned the survey work that we did with a large Medicare broker. They're selling this into folks just as they're retiring, 60 to 65, up to, and you can sell it up to age 74. But their point of view is, and what we've seen from the survey work is that people will buy this early on, take advantage of the association benefits, make plans over the course of their retirement. So the 5-year vesting, if it's sold that way effectively, will be immaterial. But again, I go back to it was just a way to control for adverse selection and keep the underwriting really, really simple.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. How are the benefits distributed? To whom do you write the check? Where is it sent, and how is this designated?
Well, the check would be sent to the insured, to their home, and the frequency would be a function of the frequency which with the bills are sent to GTL. So it could be weekly, biweekly, monthly.
Another question on here is if the client goes in for a hip replacement, as your example stated, if the client fulfills the 30 days and goes back on claim for the hip replacement it covered, Hold on, let me see here what I'm missing here. Basically, can they trigger the policy for the same reason? So if they
Yeah,
had a hip issue, is there anything in your policy noting that they cannot claim on a reoccurring existing position that they
no,
have?
no. So in your example or the example that was presented, the really what's important is that that a healthcare licensed healthcare provider certifies that the individual no longer had that physical impairment, did not need home health care for that for at least 30 days. And if they suddenly had complications with the hip, 31 days or 60 days later, that the fact that it's related to this it's related to that first hip claim is not relevant. What's relevant is recovery, no longer needed home health care services as certified by a licensed healthcare practitioner, and it was at least 31 days in duration.
Okay, another question is, once a client meets the criterion to go on claim, how often is the qualification audited?
Yeah, I think that one's a facts and circumstances basis. It's not really, there's not a set answer to that. So it's a function of, like, for example, the age of the individual, the diagnosis, the initial plan of care, length of time. So all of that would be taken into consideration in determining the frequency with which GTL would seek essentially, confirmation that the client still needs home health care.
Another question is regarding this being a cash versus reimbursement model. How are the benefits considered on a tax basis, is how it says. So is this taxable income? I'm sure is what the question is.
Yeah, and they are non-taxable. Benefit payments are non-taxable.
Perfect. Another one is, can you review the process of filing for coverage? So the claim process.
So there is a claim form. Yeah, do we have? Is the question about the triggers or?
The client, they're filing for coverage, so you're filing for claim. What is the process when someone has this policy and then would need to utilize it?
It's really just a primary care physician signing off on the fact that an individual is unable to perform 2 of 6 ADLs or has that cognitive impairment. So it's not actually, GTL's not looking at claims data. It's literally just a PCP signing off on the 2 of 6 ADLs.
Perfect. Another question is what is the elimination period on this policy?
0. There is none.
Okay, I think we have gotten through most of it. The last one is on reimbursement. How does the client get reimbursement?
Yeah, and again, that's just it's a weekly payment, and it's tied to certifying the 3 visits of at least 1 hour a week, and then the checks get cut. And I always go back to, and these are all great questions, but we really designed this to be very, very simple. No elimination period, simple eligibility requirements, simple underwriting, and cash payment. And so it was very purposeful in terms of the way we developed this, understanding that when families need support, once they go into that position where they need support with activities of daily living, there are a lot of expenses related to this type of care. So we wanted to kind of make it as clean as possible for families. And there's still controls on this. We've got the vesting period in over 5 years. We have the evidence of 3 visits or 3 hours a week, but there are not a lot of hurdles in the way we've developed this.
Okay, one last question, and I know we have a bunch more questions to go over. So what I'm going to do is just to be conscientious of everyone's time. I will reach out regarding these last couple, but last one is enrollment. How do you enroll a client for this, and can it be done online?
Yeah, the answer is yes. So through the EAP application, the agent can speak with his or her client and populate the information into EAP. And again, based on the simplified underwriting, if the client is able to answer no to the five knockout questions, then they've effectively have passed underwriting, and then that process takes about 5 minutes, to take in the information from the applicant, and then once it's filed, then the applicant would make because it's done over the phone, they would do a voice verification that takes a couple of minutes, and then after the voice verification is completed, within a few minutes after that, the policy is issued to both the agent and the insured. So all of that takes 10 to 15 minutes, and it can all be done electronically.
Perfect. Well, like I said, I appreciate everyone for joining us today. So many questions, and for everything that I didn't get to, I will be reaching out to you, whether it was myself or Mandy in the department, in order to follow up. I will be sending out some information regarding this, including a recording of the presentation today, and also an availability chart. The availability chart we do here at Premier is going to include all of our short-term care products together, so you can see where you would have opportunity regardless of carrier or product. That being said, I want to take the opportunity to thank you guys so much. Tom, Nick, and Liz, I appreciate you guys joining us today.
Yeah,
and to all of you out there, again, a very happy new year, and we will be in touch soon.
Great.
Thank you,
Thanks, Kate.
everyone, and have a great day.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much. Bye-bye.